Good afternoon. Just want to say a couple things about Saturday. Chance to go back and watch film. Just once again, congratulations to Michigan and Coach Harbaugh and their staff. And they're playing really good football right now, and they did a good job of executing. And they're playing the best I've seen them play throughout the season. Here late in the season, so that's what you want to do. That's what we want to do. So we didn't spend a lot of time on the game. We wanted to correct mistakes, address those issues, and then move on to the most important task at hand, which is get ready for the Purdue Boilermakers in our bucket game. So, but do want to wrap up with some guys that I thought did a great job during the week. Our scouts that just give so much to us, work so hard. Defensive scouts of the week, Madison Norris, Robert Tolbert, two guys that just work really hard every single day and did a great job last week. Offensive scout of the week, Zach Merrill, played quarterback and just gave us a great look, great energy, focus, and keeping those guys at a good tempo. And then special team scout of the week, Davion Irvin Poindexter. So just four guys there that give of themselves to our team to help us get better each week, and we appreciate their efforts for that. So got a great opportunity this week. Obviously a chance for win number 8, and more importantly, the bucket. And that is a huge priority here in our program, and our guys understand that. And all of our new guys are growing to understand that as they're here now with us. And so want to do a great job of preparing. Very, very good football team. We're going to get their very best shot. We know that. Coach Brom has done a great job there. I know they've had some injuries throughout the year, and like most of us have. But bottom line is that they're going to play extremely hard. They'll play extremely well. They'll have a good plan. And we'll have to play our very, very best on the road to get this very important win for our program. Questions?
I guess just to start in terms of health, Wap, Matt, Stevie, Peyton, and if anybody else kind of came out of last weekend.
Okay, so Wap should be good. We're fully expecting him to play, and which is great to have him back. And then with Stevie and Matt, obviously they both went down during the game, so still unsure of them. We'll know later in the week. Lower leg injuries for both of those guys, but nothing long-term for them, just trying to see if we can get them back. And that would be the hope for that. In regards to Peyton, just a little sore, but he worked out today. He's fine, so he'll be good to go. So other than that, I think we're made it out of it okay, and just got to get some bumps and bruises this late in the season. Week 12, you're going to have guys that need to maximize the training room since we don't have classes this week.
Coach, you've been here long enough to understand the importance of Indiana, Purdue, and so on. And coming up short the first two, obviously when you make your list of goals that the team does that you keep to yourselves and such, but this always starts at the top, doesn't it? Absolutely.
And we're not shy about that. And there's signs all around our building to that end. And it's personal. It's a rivalry game that epitomizes the state, and was raised in this state and understand it, watched many of them over the years, and know how important it is to our university. So our fan base, our former players, everybody that's part of IU means a whole lot to them. So absolutely something that has really bothered me these last 2 years. Obviously there was a lot of things that happened when we lost that game. We lost the opportunity to go to a bowl game the last 2 years. So it was a very, very difficult off season to have to sit there and kind of have that over your head and in your heart. And but that's just being real. That's the truth. So it's been something that we obviously have been setting aside, and when the time is right, and now's the time. So this is our entire focus is on the Purdue Boilermakers.
Any more answers from the film on the past defensive issues on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, just verified that they got some really good receivers. I'm watching it again. Knew that going in, saw it live. We changed some things up with a couple of those calls and try to give those guys some help. We do play a lot of man coverage. It's no secret there. We knew, I said it ahead of time, we're going to win some of those one-on-ones, and we did not. And some of those just technique too. I mean, I thought the first 2 touchdowns we were in great position. You just got to have a chance to rip that ball out. And those are balls that we've gotten ripped out at times. It's some really strong-handed catches. Once again, you 2 guys going after the ball, head to head, and they came up with those first two and made great plays. And we got to get those stops there, And so, but just some technique we got to keep working on. We do those, we do it a lot, and we got to work on it and get better. And we got to continue to find ways to give them some help and change it up. And it goes back to rushing the passer, and so you can play some more zone, take some pressure off those guys. There's no doubt about that. That's absolutely true. And we'd like to be able to do more of that moving forward. And but it's just still a matter of winning one-on-ones, competitive, game that we play, and that's kind of how the game is, and that's how we choose to play it, and that's what you got to do. So we didn't win enough of those on Saturday, and that really was disappointing for sure. And but we just got to be able to continue to work on our technique, and that's where even these bowl practices are going to be huge for us to be able to keep working this technique. We got a lot of young players on defense, and matter of fact, you go through freeze that frame, and it's freshmen and sophomores, pretty much the entire group, and that's that's good and bad. So, but we're late in the season, so we got to just keep getting better.
Coach Jeff Brom at Purdue is very creative, does a lot of trick stuff. Last week, Wisconsin, they ran one. 2 years ago, they faked a punt on you guys up there. I know you can't spend a ton of time, but how much does that kind of factor into your preparation? Obviously, this is kind of their bowl game, so I'm sure he's going to throw the kitchen sink at you. How much do you guys kind of focus on that and look at it?
It is, and we fully understand that. And so, he does a great job. It makes for a lot of sleepless nights when you try to get ready for all those variety of things that he may do. And so I know that's why they do it, and I'm sure they have a lot of fun doing that and trying to make our lives miserable defensively because of all those things that they choose to do. So, and it's just it's the unknown, So you got to work on it, but you can't, obsess with it. It's just about discipline eyes and playing with technique. And but I think the discipline eyes is the key. Just being able to. That's oftentimes in what they do. You lose your guy, or if you're playing zone, you just lose leverage and you get caught up thinking it's a run or think it's this or that, and a variety of things that they may choose to do. So yeah, it definitely keeps you on your toes, makes you have to work on them, and we will, and we'll just but you also just gotta react. You don't want to be obsessing with things that might happen. You have to react to what you see and trust your eyes and be disciplined and play fast, play physical, and play with confidence.
Coach, there's a lot of reasons that makes this game big, but after having lost 2 straight after the season that you've had, how important is it to get that win and knowing that you're going into a bowl game to be going into that game on a winning note? Yeah, it's huge. I think that's we talked to our team about that today. It's momentum. Momentum's big, and you go through and you had some really 2 very, very tough teams that we've individually beaten each one of those teams once in the last 50 years. So those are tough opponents. I get it, and we knew that, and we prepared the best of our ability and fell short here this last weekend, but not going to be discouraged because of that. We see the big picture. We know what we're building here. We know the way that we're building it, and want our guys to understand that. So, but finishing with a victory to get the bucket back and get momentum going into our bowl game is huge for our program, for our future, and for what we're building here. So, yeah, it's just, but I told our team today, it's the biggest game of the season because it's the next one, and they understand that.
They were down to a walk-on quarterback this past weekend. How different are they with this quarterback as opposed to others, and how much credit do you give to their coaching staff for being able to maintain the number 2 passing offense in the Big Ten despite those injuries?
Yeah, it's actually been very impressive, and they've done a great job amidst the adversity at that position, and continued to be productive there and throwing the ball well, and they have a great system in place that they believe in and do a great job with, and it's kind of next man up steps in there, and he's just finding the guy that's wasn't highly recruited but kind of fits the profile of guys that play the position for them. A lot like the Sindelar kid in my mind as far as his length and his arm, and he's very accurate and throws a good ball and just stands in there and runs the offense. So yeah, it's impressive what they've been able to do in the midst of that. And so to me, it's just so you talk about what they do, and they're always going to look a little bit. You're going to adapt to what your guys and your strengths of your personnel, and they've done that. And so, but he can throw it really, really well. So that gives them a tremendous weapon at that spot, and then you just got to try and attack accordingly and take care of the things you feel like that you can take advantage of on film, and we just want to have a great defensive plan and play our best football on Saturday.
Coach, when entering the last week of the first season that you haven't been the defensive coordinator, just thinking back to your expectations of where the defense might be at the end of the season before you enter this season, how they kind of met some of those expectations, and are they kind of where you thought they might be at this point?
Well, I think that every year is a little different. I feel like that. I still don't like we don't create enough takeaways. That to me has still been something that and we didn't. 2 seasons ago, we didn't either. And last year we did. We got a bunch. So the emphasis hasn't changed. But that part is where I kind of feel like I just know how big those are, how they change games, and really create. A lot of momentum during the game and really create opportunities to win games. And so that hasn't been to the level that I expect. And but I feel like with the youth of our guys, we've gotten better throughout the season, which has really been encouraging. Still don't feel like we've played our best game yet defensively, a complete start to finish game, against an elite team and be able to take things away. But at the same time, we're still, the youth up front shows, and it needs to, we need a whole nother year to these bowl practices are going to be huge for our young football team, and really with the technique work that we're going to get, all those things will help us another off season in the weight room. So, but just being able to continue to grow that, and how many guys are going to be returning in that unit. So, I love how hard we play. I love that our guys are physical. We've tackled well throughout the season. I mean, we had it, at the beginning we didn't tackle as well as we needed to, but we got that corrected, and we need to tackle really well on Saturday. They've got a couple bigger backs, and so need to do a great job with that, running our feet and being fundamentally sound, and just still make some mistakes that we got to eliminate. Even on Saturday, cut a guy loose on the big wheel route that really hurt us early. And then even not walling off a receiver on the deep pass that hurt us there in the third, that kind of was probably the final dagger. It really was tough to overcome. So you just got to continue. But once again, if you create takeaways, even those situations, that's where it changes. So I always kind of come back to that. I think that's such a huge part. But that also is up front. It's pressure. It's affecting the quarterback, getting in his face, making him have to make decisions quicker than he wants to, or moving, or not being able to follow through, or step through, or get his feet set. That affects his throws, and that creates those opportunities. And the violence that you play with, and when you tackle, creates the fumbles and all this kind of thing. So, just got to continue to, So to answer your question, that was kind of a long answer, but I just feel like that we've definitely made progress. Not where we want to be, but. It's sometimes hard not to be, as involved in some ways, but at the same time, I know to be what I know I want to be holistically as a head coach and the whole program, it's been definitely a step in the right direction.
Coach, you guys fair caught kickoffs, I think, for the first time all year. Was that a product of the conditions? Was it a product of Michigan's coverage team? And with the preliminary forecast, it looks like it's wet weather on Saturday. Is that something you're going to utilize again?
Well, it was more to do with the hang time of the kicks, and that's the issue. So the hang time of the kick is what really, it's not even so much, obviously if it's a shorter kick, you'll bring them out. But if it's inside the 5-yard line with, a certain amount of hang time that we designated ahead of time, that makes it hard, with the speed that they had on as a team. You don't want to get pinned inside the 20, and so that really was the weather, in some degrees, but not near as much. It was more of their skill level at that position and how they were able to kick them high and deep, and you just don't want to, didn't want to take that chance to get started inside the 20, or worse yet, you get a penalty and you're inside the 10, and against that defense, that's a long road to hoe. So that was the rationale. If we have to, take it to 25 and go to work.
Coach, you mentioned next man up earlier. If Stevie can't go, confidence level in Ronnie Walker and Samson James kind of carrying the load in that game?
Very high confidence in those guys. So it would be a great opportunity. Obviously Stevie wanted to get him ready and wanting to see him out there, but I think those guys are primed and ready to take off.
I know we've asked a lot about Peyton this season, but in a game like this in particular, do you see anything different in him? The way I know it's his, I guess technically really more second bucket game, because I think maybe he wasn't healthy for his first one as a redshirt freshman. But is there anything different you put on him? Anything different you see in him in a week like this, leading up to a game that's got maybe a little bit of added significance?
Well, just the experience, and just him knowing, the magnitude of the game, what it means to our program, and all the work that's been put in, and just you feel very confident with a guy like that, behind center there, running your offense, leading your team, because he cares so much, and he's going to do everything, to prepare to be at his very, very best. And like you said, he played last year. He didn't play his first year because of an injury, and so. I just think experience matters, and he's been there and been in that environment, and we just got to go there and play with a ton of confidence and play our best football. And I expect for him to do that, and I think that's where being, in his position and being here for quite a while, he's in the spot to do that.
Coach, the Michigan game, you had touchdowns on 2 of those first 3 drives, nice long drives, impressive, and then there was nothing after that. Did that surprise you that you couldn't keep that going, and B, what causes, if any, did you see on film that were part of that? Yeah,
I think was, obviously good start, and that's what you want to be able to do, and had some really good drives and did the things that we wanted to do. But we started losing some early downs, when guys behind the chains, which I thought was tough to overcome, and we got a little bit out of the rhythm on that. And I think that, they were doing some things in their front, and being more disruptive, and our guys had a harder time handling them, and that kind of really made it difficult. And then we lost. You start getting 3rd and longs, and then that gets really difficult. Now, and I thought one thing too, even that we converted a first down, and we had the holding call. That was big. That was big. We ended up having to punt, and then they ended up scoring. So I just, it's, to me, it was, and I know it might have been the appearance. I didn't feel like that we had lost control of the game in the second quarter. I mean, I felt like it was that middle of the third there, and that sequence there where really just kind of, that's when you're like, you just kind of could feel that it was going to be tough after that. So, but once again, those little, true freshman left tackle made a mistake, and they brought a bunch of inside pressure, and he, to try and get him cut off, ended up grabbing him, and so that to me, there's just always those moments in a game when the momentum switches, and it's sometimes you don't get it back. Other than that, I felt like we were counterpunching with them, and even that could have been a good drive, and we had a chance to work some more time off the clock, and we do a good job of that. But we got to get first downs, we got to keep the chains moving, and so and then from there it was really challenging. So, but I think a lot of it had to do with how their front 7 played and how active they were, and they were hard to block, and we ended up giving up 3 sacks, which is we haven't done that in the past. So I just think that it was a combination of things that kind of threw us off schedule, and it just kind of snowballed from there.
I asked Kane about Khalil Bryant last week, but asking you, he's had 3 10-tackle games in his last 4. I mean, why has he been able to be so productive in these last few weeks?
Yeah, it's actually I've said before, we give an LEO award before each game, and he actually won that one for this, going into the Michigan game, and I talked about that, and I talked about his production, and he's not the most, if you just, I said it to our team, if we lined up ran a 40-yard, he's not going to win it, and he's not going to have the highest vertical, but he's a student of the game, he's a senior. He's been here. He's really transformed himself as a player. He's always been a good tackler ever since he's been here. That was one of the qualities, because he was actually in the class that he was already committed to Indiana when I was hired. So he was already coming here, but he signed in that first class, and then so he's been with me all 4 years. And so just have seen the whole progression, and he cares a bunch. Film preparation, I don't think I can emphasize that enough, as part of his effectiveness. He anticipates well. He's a good, savvy football player that understands the game, can see things happening, but once again, it goes back to film preparation. He works really, really hard at it. He's maximized every ounce of talent that God has given him in the weight room, and how hard he works, and takes good angles. He's a good. He finishes tackles well. He's strong. That helps him get guys on the ground. But it's sometimes you have to. He kind of remind you, Chase Dutra was one of those guys that just made plays. He wasn't, if you line up, and there were other DBs that may be faster than he was, but similar to that, to where he just understood angles, understands football, and is able to be very efficient in how he plays. Doesn't waste a lot of movements, and I think that's big, and it allows him to be able to be a guy that doesn't have a ton of length and a ton of speed, and yet he's effective, and we put him in a spot where he can thrive with those qualities. And so, but just really proud of his preparation that he provides each week and the leadership that he gives. And he's pretty quiet, but he does a great job of being ready, and therefore he's being rewarded with making a lot of plays. And it's been very good for us, and very happy for him.
How's Reese progressed? We've asked about him, and obviously he's kind of had sort of a stuttered start to his career between last season and the injury earlier this year. It feels like we've seen a little bit more of him over the last few weeks. Just how much more comfortable, I guess, in particular, leaving him one-on-one, maybe are you getting as a staff?
Sure, and I think that he's a young man that continues each and every week, and even as a staff, we talked yesterday. He's going to start this week, and I just think that he's a guy that continues to get better and better. Hasn't had a whole, just consecutive long lengths of time where he's gotten all the reps because of injuries and things that have set him back a little bit. Hadn't played a lot of defense in his past. And so I just feel like that his best football is ahead of him on our side of the football. I say ours defensively, I just think that that's, a testament to, once again, he's working extremely hard. We put him back there as a punt returner. He was replacing WAP. And so that's something I see him growing in his role with that as well as we move forward and just give him a chance to touch the ball in that regard. But just as a corner, being comfortable with the position, the technique, all the different things we do between man and zone and all the different coverages and concepts he has to have between the run fits and the way it all fits together with what we do as a scheme. So I just think he just keeps getting better and better. He's a tough kid. He makes tackles on kickoff cover, which has been huge for us as well. But just learning to be a defensive player, and that it's just different, and all the things you have to do to play defense. So I just think he's becoming what I thought he would be, and I think he's going to keep getting better and better, and his best football at that position is ahead of him. Awesome. Have a great day, Leo.